We're going to be starting this full council meeting. So again, welcome to this virtual meeting of the full council in Microsoft Teams. Many of you are now used to virtual meetings, but I would like to remind you to put yourself on mute when you're not talking. This is Lancashire County Council, not Hamforth Parish Council, remember. To indicate if you wish to speak, my preference is that you use the raise hand option within Microsoft Teams. Once I invite you to speak, please can you remember to lower your hand. If you cannot raise your hand, you can type RTS in the text. You can also use the text for points of order, declarations of interest, or if there is an ICT issue which you want to draw the officer's attention to. Please do not use the text facility for general comments or debate. They are not shown on the webcast, but are held as a permanent record and may be subject to freedom of information requests. If you are dialing in by phone, you can mute and unmute yourself by typing *6 on your phone. We move to apologies. I should like to invite the Chief Executive to read out the apologies received.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've received apologies from County Councillor Oates. Thank you.
Okay. The Chief Executive will now take a roll call of members. You will see a list now appearing on your screen. When your name is called, please say present. Officers will mark off your name. If you do not hear your name, please wait until the end of the roll call and the Chief Executive will give you a second chance. Also, if you have a problem making yourself heard, please either write present in the messages or wait until the end of the roll call when the Chief Executive will call you again. Chief Executive, please start the roll call. Can we have everybody on mute, please?
Can we just mute all and then...
Can we just mute all for the time being? Sorry, again, Chief Executive, please start the roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In alphabetical order by surname, Aldridge.
Present.
Ali. Ali. Ashton.
Present.
Atkinson.
Present.
Beavers.
Present.
Berry.
Present.
Britcliffe.
Present.
Brown.
Present.
Buckley.
Present.
Burns.
Present.
Burrows. Burrows. Charles.
Present. Present.
Cheetham.
Present.
Clark. Clark.
Present.
Clempson.
Present.
Collinge.
Present.
Cooney.
I'm here, but I will be leaving early.
Okay, thank you. Cox.
Present.
Sorry,
From-
Angie, sorry to interrupt. I'm reasonably confident that a woman responded to the request of whether Stephen Clark was present. So I don't know if you want to check that one again.
Didn't hear anything.
I can assure you, Stephen.
We didn't hear anything this end.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Did I hear you speak?
Yes, I'm definitely present. I'm here.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Thanks. Crompton.
Present.
Dad.
Present.
Dawson.
Present.
De Molfetta.
Present.
Dowding. Dowding. Thank you. Driver.
Present.
Eaton.
Present.
Edwards.
Present.
Ellard.
Present.
Phyllis.
See you later, darling.
Phyllis.
Present.
Thank you. Foxcroft.
Present.
Gardiner.
Present.
Gibson.
Present.
Gooch.
Present.
Green.
Present.
Greenall.
Yes, present, but like Councillor Cooney, I may have to leave a little bit early. Thank you.
Thank you. Hayhurst. Councillor Hayhurst. Hennessy.
Present.
Holgate.
Present.
Hosker.
Present.
Howarth.
Present.
Eden.
Present.
Iqbal.
Present.
Kay.
Present.
Khan.
Present.
Lewis.
Present.
Malik.
Present.
Marsh. Councillor Marsh. I'll come back to Councillor Marsh. Martin.
Present.
Meehan.
Present.
Molyneux.
Present.
Morris.
Present.
Matala.
Present.
Nash.
Present.
Oliver.
Present.
O'Toole.
Present.
Parkinson.
Present.
Parr.
Present.
Pattison.
Present.
Perks.
Present.
Pope.
Present.
Potter. Potter. Madam Chairman, Councillor Potter had indicated he might be late because he's attending Preston City Council meeting. Purcell.
Present.
Rea.
Present.
Rigby.
Present.
Riggott.
Present.
Salter.
Present.
Schofield.
Present.
Shedwick.
Present.
Smith. Just heard you faintly there, Councillor Smith. Snape.
Present.
Snowden.
Present.
Stansfield.
Present.
Steen. Councillor Steen. Sumner.
Present.
Tomlinson.
Present.
Townley.
Present.
Turner.
Present.
Vincent.
Present.
Wakeford.
Present.
Whip.
Present.
Wilkins.
Good afternoon. Present.
Williamson.
Present.
Yates.
Present.
Has anyone indicated on the chat? Okay, I will go through just the names who didn't respond. Councillor Alley.
Present.
Thank you. Burrows. Hayhurst.
Present.
Marsh.
Present.
Steen. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. I'm conscious that this is the last scheduled meeting of the full council in this municipal year and the last meeting before the county council elections on 6th of May. There are a number of members who will not be standing for re-election, and I would like to take this opportunity to record the county council's appreciation for the many years of service provided by those members and to wish them all the very best for the future. Point 2. Okay. Councillor Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You did say that a number of councillors would not be seeking re-election this year, and I don't know all of them, but the number of members from my group who I would like to thank on behalf of the people of Lancashire for the work that they've done over many, many years, both at district level but also at county council level. Jenny Molyneux came on the county council a few years ago, and despite challenges, she's played a fantastic role within our group and also worked really hard for the people of Hyndburn. I want to thank her for that. Terry Burns MBE has been a long-standing county councillor in Burnley, is very well known and has excelled in his charity work over recent years by setting up a charity that recycles furniture and has provided school furniture in Africa and Asia and across the world, and worked really tirelessly with Unite and other volunteers to enable that to happen. Carl Crompton is a Preston County Councillor whose service everyone knows about, a very popular county councillor. And again, he'll be missed from Lancashire County Council, in particular from our group. Kevin Ellard came on the County Council at the same time as me and has played a great role on the Pensions Committee in Development Control, but has always worn the right colours of claret and blue. Even though he's a Hammers fan, his colours have always been right, and he will be missed. Gillian Oliver, again, someone who's been with us for a couple of years, but has worked tirelessly for the people of Preston, particularly for Ashton around youth services, and her caseload has been tremendous. And finally, Miles Parkinson, OBE, I'd be slaughtered if I didn't mention that, has worked, been on the county council, is leader of Hyndburn Council, served as vice chair of the Fire Authority. And again, all of these colleagues will be missed. And I know, of course, that Councillor Driver, another claret and blue fan, something that we agree on, is also retiring from the council, and I wish him well in the future. And I hope that he spends a lot more time at Turf Moor and away from mischief at County Hall. And any other members that missed Chair, I'd like to wish them well in their retirement and hope they have a long and healthy life. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the Conservative Party want to respond to that or not?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I did have my hand up. I'll just try and sort my computer out. Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you to Councillor Ali for his kind words. And I'd just like to add my words, grateful thanks to all the members of all political persuasions who won't be standing again. They've all served their constituents really, really well. And as I've said many times, we have our political differences, but most of the differences are not really about what it is we should be doing. It's sometimes about the way we go about doing it. And I think every single one of us gets ourselves or puts ourselves forward for election and then becomes elected because we want to serve the people in our areas and the people who won't be standing again. Thanks very much to all of them for that. And as Councillor Ali said at the end, wish them all very well for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, if everybody's happy, we'll go on to disclosure of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. In accordance with the Code of Conduct, the full council is informed that members have declared interests under the code in matters on today's agenda. There is no requirement for members to declare an interest in item 6, which refers to the Members' Allowance Scheme 2021-22. A list of the declarations will be available for inspection as soon as it is practical. Are there any other matters relating to today's agenda that members wish to declare? Councillor Dowding, I see you've raised your hand.
Apologies, I'll take it down. It's relating to the previous item.
Okay. We now go on to question time. Councillor Edwards, please could you read out your question?
It's question number 1, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Green.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to all those members who are stepping down at the election and for their excellent service over the years, particularly Councillor Driver for the sterling work he's done as leader of the County Council. Madam Chairman, can I thank Councillor Edwards for the question that he's put before us this afternoon on an issue of importance to businesses up and down the county, and I'd like to give a response if I may. So the business support services, which are hosted by Lancashire County Council, sit at the heart of the local COVID support to the business community via the operation of Boost, which is Lancashire's business growth hub. The service has risen to the challenging of supporting our business community, and from day one of the pandemic, Boost was quick to respond and shift resources and priorities to better support and reach out to those most in distress. We launched the Ask for Help campaign, and with a clear and concise message, "You are not alone, ask for help." This activity reached out and supported over 7,000 businesses in Lancashire with online tools, telephone calls, workshops and events, and ongoing support. Essentially, our growth hub pivoted and became a resilience hub for every business across the county. As time moved on and the general thinking was that businesses were starting to get back to normal, we then launched our Boost Your Recovery campaign to help to lead and influence business thinking about the measures that they can take to stabilise and grow their business. In direct response to the COVID challenge, some new services and support options were also made available to better support our business community, working closely with government colleagues in BEIS, as well as a repositioning of the core Boost offer. This has included resilience workshops, a universal temporary service, peer networks, 100% funded grant scheme, activity to help with transition on the EU Brexit, and COVID risk trackers. The core Boost team now also meets regularly as a group on Monday, Wednesday and Friday mornings in what we refer to as a Boost stand-up, which has been a great way to communicate quickly and share challenges, frustrations and successes, allowing us to better respond and service the needs of the Lancashire community. We also extended the membership of the group to include skills colleagues, access to finance and manufacturing services. And the team are now open up on Wednesday sessions to all publicly funded business support partners, all Boost and core collaborators, all local authority partners, and all our coaches and mentors. We have over 35 programmes of support available, Madam Chairman, to businesses within Lancashire that are publicly funded. These support offerings range from funding and finance, mentoring, coaching, startup, international trade, skills, training, product development, innovation, leadership and management, digital, sector-focused support, low carbon, greening your business, and limited COVID grants. All of these services have also been challenged by the impact of COVID, and each one has responded in a positive manner to purposely and proactively support our business community. Boost has been able to keep up to date on these changes and help to promote and amplify our support offerings, as well as being that simple call to action. If in doubt, call Boost. And that's what I would urge all colleagues to tell anyone. For any businesses that are looking to recover from the impacts of COVID, Boost is here to support and to signpost. Our service remains neutral, and we will make sure that businesses are signposted to the right support at the right time. In these trying and challenging times, it's right that we pull together across the business support community so that we can emerge from this in a collaborative way. In addition to the direct business support activity, in September, we approved £12.8 million to support an economic recovery and growth programme, specifically for the purpose of tackling some of the economic impacts of COVID and to stimulate economic growth in our county. The programme is part of our response to the economic challenges expressed in redefining Lancashire, our approach to recovery, and how the council can play a vital role. Our objectives, which mirror the plan, are geared towards tackling the urgent impacts of COVID by supporting town centres to revitalise, providing safer places to visit, provide direct and immediate support to businesses and the hospitality sector through an extension and expansion of the grant scheme, to support manufacturing and Lancashire's key economic sectors which have been badly affected, such as aerospace, and members will have noted the new £1 million project which we have launched to support that sector to bounce back from the COVID pandemic. Investment will also be providing accelerating capital investment and infrastructure programmes, including railway projects across the county, and developing a pipeline of economic development projects, continuing our momentum. A comprehensive programme of interventions has been identified for which specific and targeted schemes will be invested in, with early interventions being approved. The programme will accelerate over the year to come. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards, do you have a supplementary?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Firstly, in the spirit of openness, I don't need to declare an interest. I've been told I don't need to, but I'd like to inform the council. I am a small business owner, which is in my register of interest, and we have received government support. Many of the councillors in this room have, at one stage or the other, own their own.
We have a
business.
question, please.
Yeah. My question is basically we need support. Businesses need support. Can the cabinet member call on the government to announce a final package of support in next week's budget to ensure that businesses survive until the restrictions are lifted, especially in the worst hit industries of hospitality and leisure?
Councillor Green.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for the supplementary. And those sectors have obviously been particularly affected by COVID, and we fully empathise with that. I can give my assurance to Councillor Edwards that we have already been lobbying at high level. So myself, Councillor Driver as the leader, and our officers have been lobbying at each and every opportunity to put forward strong cases of packages of support that will assist those businesses and those sectors in particular, but the wider Lancashire economy, A, in the immediate short term, and B, moving into the medium and longer term. We will continue every effort and every opportunity to lobby for additional support, and I'm sure the government will come forward, as they have done over the last 12 months, in some fantastic ways to support the business community, but that needs to continue for some time yet to come, and I'm sure that the government will suitably offer that assistance. And just in concluding, if I can thank all the officers that work for the County Council in Economic Development and all our partners in supporting the business community. It's been truly appreciated over the last year, and we've had lots of positive feedback from those businesses that have needed that bit of extra support. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Green. County Councillor Oliver, please read out your question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Could the Cabinet member please set out how many laptops Lancashire schools have requested for their pupils and how many have been delivered? Also, how are families who are struggling financially to be compensated for internet costs and additional data charges? How are they to be compensated given the extra costs incurred to enable education to take place in person?
County Councillor Williamson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman, and to County Councillor Oliver for the question. I think we'd all agree that our schools have been doing a brilliant job ensuring pupils can continue to learn despite the pandemic, and we don't want any child to fall behind because they do not have access to a laptop computer. So our officers have been really proactive in ensuring schools are aware of the schemes available and how to access them. And there are several schemes available to schools through which to access laptops, and I'll highlight these for you and the numbers provided through each scheme where I can. Firstly, the government, through the Department for Education, has committed to providing 1.3 million devices throughout the pandemic to support home learning. That's a £400 million investment, and the scheme's basically in two parts. The first part began in the first lockdown and was administered by the County Council, but with academies ordering directly from the Department for Education for these laptops. This initial scheme was directed at vulnerable pupils in year 10 and care leavers, and the County Council issued 4,750 laptops to support those pupils during that time, and we continue to support the schools in accessing technical support for those devices. The second part of the scheme ran from September 2020, when all pupils had returned to school. The County Council do not have a role in distributing laptops as part of this scheme. It's administered solely by the DFE, and devices were initially allocated to pupils in years 3 to 11 who were isolating or shielding, or during lockdown situations where they needed to work at home. But during the current lockdown, the DFE has committed to providing a greater number of devices through the scheme to a wider range of pupils. The second source of laptops is the County Council's own scheme. We've made available £1 million to purchase laptops. We made an initial purchase of 1,800 devices, but with some good negotiation on the part of the officers, we were able to purchase 2,350 laptops for the same cost. Distribution of these is underway. 1,700 have been distributed, and the remaining devices will be distributed very shortly. The third source of laptops is our partner, British Aerospace. They have pledged to donate up to 1,500 laptops over the next 6 months, and 200 of those have already arrived and been distributed to schools. And in addition, the Virtual School for Children Looked After is providing laptops for care leavers who don't receive a laptop from one of these schemes, and also devices which perhaps need to be of a specialised nature for some of our children in special schools. And a total of 106 laptops have gone out so far through that route. And also we are, as a county council, supporting several IT related projects across the county, such as the Connected Kids programme in Lancaster and other schemes through borough councils and businesses and charities. We don't know the exact number of laptops distributed through those local schemes yet. So as you can see, because of the range of schemes and the different ways schools can access those schemes, it's not possible to give a total figure of how many laptops Lancashire schools have requested. What we do know, however, is that so far the County Council have distributed over 7,000 laptops ourselves through the schemes where we have been able to do that. And we are aware of many more devices that have been sourced directly by schools from the Department for Education. We can also be assured that from our information from schools, the demand for laptops is being met, and we will continue to do that and meet any ongoing needs as it arises.
1 minute left.
Thank you. And if I go on to the data, to allay costs, the Department for Education has provided routers to families for vulnerable pupils and those remote learning when they don't have access to the internet. They're provided with fixed amounts of monthly data, but schools can request an amount and increase that in circumstances. As a county council, we've also been promoting via the schools portal various schemes by major internet providers, all of which support free internet access for families. This includes removing data caps on broadband packages, special tariffs for certain customers, and for those households who don't have a broadband connection and are reliant on a mobile connections to get online, increased data allowances on their tariffs for free. So in summary, there are very many ways to help families that are having problems with these costs. All of this information is available to schools, updated regularly and promoted by the schools themselves. And I should say there is a message on See First for councillors on how to access these schemes.
Williamson, Councillor Oliver, do you have a supplementary?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I register with thanks Councillor Williamson's comprehensive response. However, just in terms of our investigation for Preston and the head teachers in Preston, there are serious gaps in the system, and these are, I mean, here are direct quotes from January 2021. Unfortunately, many of our children do not have access to laptops at home. We're trying to obtain old ones from local businesses. Here's another. The biggest challenge we have is getting hold of digital devices for our families. Here's another.
What's your question, please?
Here's my question. I've got these quotes from head teachers in Preston. They've all been brought to the council, and these head teachers have got precisely nowhere with a response to all of them to say there has not been a time to date. When we have time, when we've had
So what is your question?
When will the resources be allocated? I'm only talking about time to consider head teachers' requests to the county council, which so far are being rebuffed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver. I'm happy to talk. If you can give me those examples, I'd be very happy to follow them up. They shouldn't be waiting for any length of time for these laptops. We want them to get out there as quickly as possible. And I'm not aware of any hold-ups within the council itself. So obviously there's some kind of communication issue there, and I'm very happy to handle it offline with her.
Very much, Councillor Williamson. County Councillor Dowding, you have a question.
Thank you. My question is to Councillor Turner. Myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME, is classed as a neurological condition by the WHO and the NHS and is characterised by a range of neurological symptoms and signs, including muscle pain with intense physical or mental exhaustion, and affects thousands of people across the county. Will he please make every effort to ensure that sufferers of ME in Lancashire are clearly classified within the vulnerable priority groups in order to be given the opportunity of an early vaccine? And also, will he lobby to ensure that research studies and any ensuing treatments undertaken on behalf of those suffering long COVID, which has such similarities to ME, will also then be available to all those suffering from ME? Thank you.
Councillor Turner, would you like to answer the question, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. And if I can firstly say, offer my best wishes to all those departing councillors from May this year, and good luck, and nice to have worked with all of you. So thanks, Councillor Downing, for your question, and the answer is as follows. The ME Association have now received a reply from the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation to 2 emails that were sent in January and February. They'd sought clarification as to whether people with ME or chronic fatigue syndrome are included in Group 6 of the JCVI priority list for vaccination against COVID-19. In that response, the JCVI are not currently willing to state that the ME and chronic fatigue syndrome should be included as a specific disease in Group 6 as an underlying health condition and neurological disease. However, and importantly, they have repeated an important statement from the Green Book, which you'll be aware is really the Bible on vaccination and vaccination procedure, and clearly said that it only contains examples of neurological diseases and that they are not exhaustive. More importantly, the JCVI has emphasised the Green Book statement, which says that GPs should, not can, apply their clinical judgment when it comes to patients who have underlying health conditions that are likely to be exacerbated by COVID-19 infection. As ME and chronic fatigue syndrome is very likely to be exacerbated by COVID-19 infection, this means that doctors cannot simply state that they are unable to place someone with ME or chronic fatigue syndrome into Group 6 because the JCVI does not allow them to do so. They should be applying their clinical judgment in this situation and taking each circumstance into account. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary?
I do. Thank you, Councillor Turner. Obviously, since I wrote the question, there's been a lot of publicity about those groups who have been missed out from the priority groups, and thankfully to people like celebrity Jo Whiley, who's talked about her disabled sister in a care home being missed off, and she's received a vaccine first. So I'm putting this in the context really of fairness for those people who are overlooked by our health system and the inequalities that ensue. And I wanted to just ask whether you also would agree that in terms of rolling out the vaccine, which needs to be done at a faster rate in areas of higher transmission, such as Lancashire, if we're going to achieve equal life chances across the whole of the UK, whether he will continue to press for the government to look at the inequalities which it's embedding in its system by not differentiating those individual people and those community groups and areas where we have higher risk if they catch the disease, and also higher risk of getting it because of the structural differences in communities. Will you continue to press for the government to address the inequalities that they're embedding in the system?
Councillor Turner, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. We'll continue to press that the government carry on with the excellent progress that they've made so far. Also, you'll understand that I've had masses of emails from different cohorts of people with different conditions asking when they may get their injection and be vaccinated. And really, it's a clinical decision. And what I'll continue to lobby is that GPs use their clinical judgment that they've been told by the JCVI that they can use and continue to look at all groups and consider them at a clinical level. So yeah, absolutely, I'll continue to say that we'll, roll the vaccine out at the pace that we have been doing, and really motor on through the population as a whole.
Thank you. County Councillor Ashton, you have a question.
Sorry, Chairman, I'll ask the question as put. Thank you.
Councillor Eden, would you like to answer, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And again, could I just reiterate what has been said? A lot of us are very sad to see people leave, and a lot of you are leaving the county council. So I do wish you every success, and thank you for everything you've done for your constituents and for the good management and running of the council. Thank you for your question, Councillor Ashton. We are aware in the Highways Department of quiet lanes, which are some minor rural roads, and home zones, which both require community involvement and behaviour, and it's to do with traffic flows and speeds and keeping people safe to use these lanes and zones. We have become aware, thank you to you, that there is a new trial going on in various parts of the country with what you're asking us to do with quiet streets, and I am prepared to take this forward. We will look at the data that comes from the trials that are being done. As you are aware, with COVID-19, it's very difficult to go out and do all these sort of things, and traffic levels are a lot lower than they used to do. So as soon as traffic levels get back to normal and we come out of this COVID-19 epidemic, we will take up the action and we will look into quiet streets for residential areas. Thank you, Chairman.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Ashton?
I do, Chairman. Is the Cabinet member aware that this is not only a highways issue, a road safety issue, but a public health issue as well, to make sure that all generations can get exercise where they aren't near to a park and a place of recreation, and that this would be an ideal solution to some of the more deprived areas in Lancashire? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to answer that, Councillor Eden?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, we are well aware of all this, and obviously, while the COVID-19 epidemic has been with us, we have shut down different parts of different roads and lanes for people to walk and exercise. We do realise the benefit of this, and as I said before, we will run the trial bearing all things in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. County Councillor Greenall, I believe you have a question for Councillor Driver.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. It's question 5. Let the question be put as is, and I'm sorry it's a little bit long. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Driver, if you'd like to answer.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Over the past 12 months, officers have been working with West Lancashire Borough Council to design changes to the public realm and the junction around the Moor Street and St Helens Road. And they include changes to the bus station, extensions to the public realm so that we can improve the cycling facilities. And at the junction specifically, we're removing the present signal control and we'll replace it with a mini roundabout and also a new Toucan crossing. Now, I'm bound to say, Madam Chairman, in answering the question, that all those proposals were put to a special meeting called by the officers of the councillors for the area, West Lancs councillors as well, and they were explained in detail, but for some reason, County Councillor Greenall didn't attend that meeting, and if he had, he wouldn't have needed to ask the question. As far as the public footpath signs are concerned, for many, many years, the council's worked on the basis of dealing with district council areas all at once, rather than going to individual signs that have been damaged or replaced. And it is a fact that because of the pandemic, more than the usual number of signs have been removed, and we suspect that is because of some landowners being concerned about the public going near their premises because of the pandemic. But in terms of the specific one that Councillor Greenall has raised, that will be repaired or replaced this year, which is in line with the timescale he was originally given. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Greenall, do you have a supplementary?
No, thank you, Madam Chairman. That's perfectly fine. Thank you, Leader, for your answer. Thank you.
We now go to number 4, confirmation of the minutes. The minutes of meetings held on 17th December 2020, 11th February 2021, and from the extraordinary general meeting held on 11th February 2021 are to be confirmed and signed as an accurate record of the meeting. Leader, would you like to move the minutes?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I move them.
And do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I will second that.
That appears to be agreed. Does anybody have any objection if I sign the minutes? No. Okay. Okay, that's done. So, report of the Audit, Risk and Governance Committee. Councillor Schofield, would you like to move the report?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and good afternoon. Hope you can hear me okay. Before I formally, or as part of formally moving adoption of both these recommendations, I just need to say very briefly, just an explanation of where these are coming from. As you know, Madam Chairman and all members, conduct of members is something that's taken very seriously at LCC, not least by the Audit, Risk and Governance Committee. And the committee noted that in general, the Lancashire Code of Conduct was compliant with the best practice principles set out by the Nolan Committee. That's, as you'll know, is the Committee for Standards in Public Life. However, there were a few areas where the committee identified improvements could be made. And so the first recommendation to full council this afternoon on this agenda item is to ask council to approve the proposed improvements to ensure that the Lancashire Code fully meets the Nolan Committee's best practice. And secondly, the second recommendation relates to the fact that the LGA have come up with a draft model code of conduct that they've been working on, and this was based on a direct recommendation from the Nolan Committee to the LGA. Now, there's no requirement for a local authority to adopt this model code, but the Audit, Risk and Governance Committee felt that it would be appropriate for a working group to look more closely into that, and the committee felt that the best vehicle for that was the Cross-Party Political Governance Working Group per the report. The Audit, Risk and Government Committee would then formulate recommendations to full council as appropriate. The committee have come to no particular view at this stage about the LGA model code, other than it was worth further consideration. And currently we don't know of any other authorities who have adopted the model code. They may have done, but that could be something that the working group may wish to explore. So having said that, Madam Chairman, I'm pleased to move adoption of both recommendations.
And do you have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. That appears to be agreed. Does anybody have any objection? Nope. Members' Allowance Scheme 2021-22. Councillor Idden, would you like to move the report?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm happy to move the report.
And do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Madam Chairman.
That appears to be agreed. Does anybody have an objection?
Yes, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Whip. Okay, sorry, I didn't see you.
I submitted a notice of an amendment, and the amendment simply reads that, oh, it's coming up now, that special responsibility allowances be reduced by 10%. Chairman, as we've argued previously, the finances of the county council are such, and the unwarranted increases in council tax are such, that we believe that there ought to be some reduction in the allowances paid to members. We've consistently proposed that there be a 10% in the reduction in the special responsibility allowances. We move this more in hope than in expectation, but with the county council elections coming up, who knows what we might achieve next year. Thank you. I move.
If that you have a seconder in County Councillor Howarth, do you want to speak now or reserve the right?
No, I'll second that, Madam Chairman, and reserve the right to receive abuse.
Okay. County Councillor Driver.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Whip covered the point in his very last sentence. This is purely party political posturing. A 10% reduction in members' allowances would actually not amount to the roundings in terms of the county council's budget. So it would have absolutely no effect or significant impact on the financial future of the county council. But the significant point about this is, and I would have thought that Councillor Whip would be well aware of it, one of the things we have to do when we're seeking people to get themselves elected on the county council, we haven't to limit the number of people who can do so from those who are better off. And the allowances are there. They're not a significant amount, but they are there to enable people right across the spectrum of society to put themselves forward for election. And as I say, I would have thought Councillor Whip was well aware of that. And it's unfortunate that he thinks it's appropriate to raise something like this for purely party political posturing reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Greenall.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman. I understand that I've got some amendments to move as well, so I was just flagging that up. Thank you.
Councillor Howarth, you reserve the right. Do you want to speak? There don't seem to be any other speakers.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. I can only reiterate that, I mean, first and foremost, let me forward my thanks to those who have served on the council and some of whom are standing down. Some will be greatly missed and have made a great contribution towards the council, and others won't, because there are some people with special responsibility allowances, as I said last year, who are neither special or responsible, and in some cases I've yet to hear any of them speak. I don't know if they're standing again or standing down. If they are standing down, I will never hear them speak, but I don't think a 10% reduction is going to greatly put people off from standing for the council. If people do it for the money, they're doing it for the wrong reason. So I second the amendment.
Right, now, Councillor Itten, you do have the right to reply, and then, because nobody else has indicated, we will then go to the vote on this.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I am disappointed that this has come up again, and obviously Councillor Driver has made it very clear what the reasons are behind it. It's just political propaganda from the Liberal coordinate here, and I'm really disappointed. We've been through this all before, and a lot of people from all different walks of life come into the council and take up the responsibility. All the councillors here, Councillor Howarth, have worked very, very hard. I find it very distasteful that you talk about people as though they haven't done anything. All the lead members, all the cabinet, all the people involved worked really hard to come to this council and to represent this wonderful place of Lancashire. So I'm very disappointed again, but I did not unexpect this to happen. It has happened, but I will definitely be voting against it. There's a lot of hard-working councillors here that will be sadly missed, that are not coming back again, and your remarks are despicable. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Now, I'm wondering whether to ask how many are in support of this. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Of course, I'd be delighted to go through a roll call if that's what members would prefer. But on the basis, Madam Chairman, that there hasn't been many representations in support, it might be worth just asking members to raise a hand if they want to support this amendment, and then we can judge with that whether we need to go through a formal roll call.
Chairman.
Yes.
The amendment has been properly moved and seconded. Given that it's a budgetary issue, my understanding that it does require a roll call. I don't seek to be awkward here, but I do think it needs to be dealt with properly.
Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It is, of course, a matter for you, but it's only at Budget Council that there is a requirement that we take named votes on all items of consideration. It is not specifically about matters relating to budgetary issues, which would be most of the issues that we consider. Thank you.
So I think I will go with the previous idea, which is, if you are in favour, please raise your hands.
I would physically raise this hand.
Okay. So,
Madam Chairman, you've got 6.
yes, 6 and one. Okay. Sorry. We can record your names in the minutes, so that will be a formal announcement. But I think then we'll go on to the second amendment.
Do I take it, Chairman, that is carried? 6 votes in favour and none against?
Would you like me to give some advice? Thank you, Madam Chairman. The request to councillors was to raise your hand if you were in favour, on the advice that if there were a significant number indicating, we would perhaps move to a named vote, on the basis that only, well, I think it ended up with 4 councillors indicated. There does not appear to be an appetite by council to support the amendment, and therefore my recommendation to you, Madam Chairman, is that the amendment is not accepted and we move on to the second amendment by Councillor Greenall. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so we now move on. That's my opinion, and so we now move on to Councillor Greenall's amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I first raised this matter in 2017, and I think much of what I said back then still applies now. When politicians are treated differently to ordinary people, I think something is wrong. When politicians claim benefits at taxpayers' expense, benefits which taxpayers themselves cannot claim, or they are using taxpayers' money to fund extra benefits, something is very wrong indeed. And when this occurs at a time of economic crisis, with millions facing pay cuts due to being furloughed and millions either unemployed or soon to be unemployed, I think this becomes rather obscene. I therefore move my amendments, mindful that they will probably almost certainly be rejected. However, before rejecting them, I would invite members to reflect on two things. First, if you do reject these amendments, then the message you will send to the millions who have had their pay cut, who have lost their jobs, or who soon will lose their jobs, is you don't care. You don't care about their economic plight. You still want to use their taxes to fund these extra unnecessary benefits. Secondly, I would invite members to reflect on the fact that politicians are there to serve the public and not the other way around. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move the amendment.
Thank you. I believe it's going to be seconded by County Councillor Perks. Do you want to speak now or reserve the right to speak?
No, just happy to second. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Driver, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. The same points that I've made before, so I don't need to repeat them. But I would add in this case that when amendments like this come forward from people like County Councillor Greenhall, who's never been involved in any way in running the county council, it demonstrates absolutely clearly that he simply has no idea whatsoever of what goes on behind running the county council. As he said, he first raised this item in 2017, and it was this particular item that led him to leave the Conservative group when he'd been elected as a Conservative county councillor. And I trust that if he stands for election in the coming elections, I do hope that he is honest with the electorate, not only tells them which party or none that he's standing for, but then doesn't change his mind if and when he is elected and joins something like the Raving Lunatic Party. Thank you.
County Councillor Driver. Councillor Perks, you did say you were just happy to second it. I just reconfirming that you don't want to speak.
No, that's correct, Madam Chairman.
Okay, that's fine. Again, I think we'll do the same as. Oh, Councillor, sorry, I'm being reprimanded again. Councillor Eden has the right to reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I think Councillor Driver has summed it all up again. It doesn't appear that there is any thought going into this as to what councils actually do and the commitment they make. And to the proposer and the seconder, I would just say you just need to have a long look at what this is all about, and you need to have a long look at what councillors and especially people with special responsibilities do. We do everything for the good of the people, again, as I say, in this wonderful place of Lancashire. It wasn't unexpected, but I will not be voting for your amendment. Thank you.
Again, I propose to do what we did before, which was those in favour to raise their hands. And if it's only a few, I will assume that the amendment has fallen. So those in favour of the amendment, please raise your hands. So far as I can see, that's County Councillor Perks and County Councillor Greenall. I presume all the other county councillors are against it, so the amendment has fallen. So that's it. So now we go back to the original recommendation that's in the agenda, and I am to assume that everybody, well, mostly everybody is for this. Would those who are against it raise their hands? Okay, thank you. Oh, we're still going. Oh, Councillor O'Toole, did you mean to put your hand up?
Trying to cancel.
Right, so I think that's it now. So there are 3 against. County Councillors Greenall, Perks. Oh, County Councillors Greenall and Perks. Okay, so the original agenda item is carried. Independent Remuneration Panel membership. County Councillor Iden, would you like to move the report?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm happy to move the report.
And do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second, Madam Chairman.
Do I have any objection? So, agenda item 8, the Localism Act 2011 Pay Policy Statement 2021-22. County Councillor Driver, would you like to move the report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I move it.
And do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second the report, Madam Chairman.
That appear okay. Does anybody have any objections? Right. Agenda item number 9, financial threshold for key decisions. County Councillor Driver, would you like to remove the report?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move.
And do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second, Madam Chairman.
Does anybody have any objections? No, that's fine. Delegation of pension administration functions. London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham to Lancashire County Council. Councillor Pope, would you like to move the report? County Councillor Pope?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'd like to move this report, please.
And do I have a seconder?
Yes, Madam Chairman, County Councillor Schofield, I'm pleased to second this. Thank you.
Does anybody have any objections? Councillor Ellard, you keep putting your hand up and then putting it down.
Yes, Madam Chairman, sorry about that. The screen doesn't tell me whether I'm on or off. Can I just speak briefly in support of this proposal?
Yep.
And comment that our pension operation really is flying at the moment, and congratulations to all those colleagues who are running that. Could I just offer 1 or 2 brief valedictory words, please, while I'm speaking, as this will be my last council? Just briefly, when I was re-elected in 2017, like Councillor Driver actually, I decided this would be my last term as a county councillor, and so it is. I've been here since 2001, 20 years, and I understand some people get less than that for murder. Thank you, Jean Parr, for that one. I've seen the steady decline of local government in the UK in this time. Central government financial support has crumbled, especially since 2010. The last 12 months, though, has shown our wonderful staff at their very best during the COVID crisis. I'd like to say well done to each and every one of you. Madam Chairman, many's the time I felt sorry for our chief officers, sat in the chamber facing us, with nowhere to hide and trying to look unconcerned at the regular nonsense and theatrics coming from our benches. Can I say well done to them on their collective stoicism? And of course, with Microsoft Teams, life's a lot easier for them now. I'd like to conclude my comments by reading a short paragraph, if I may, from a book called The Friends of Harry Perkins by Chris Mullin. Some of you will have heard of it. The scene is a general election count in a stately northern town hall. They passed into the council chamber, a space designed to impress, a relic of the old days when councillors enjoyed power and status, when they had money to spend, patronage to dispense. Nowadays, it was all cuts, cuts, cuts. The glory days had long gone. Only the trappings remained. Makes you think, eh? Well, please, colleagues, make sure this remains a work of fiction. You have it all to do in the future. And can I say good luck to everybody in the future? And thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ellard. Right, now we now go on to item 11, urgent business. I have not been notified of any urgent business. So we go on to report of the Cabinet, Part B. Councillor Driver, would you like to remove the report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I move it.
And do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second the report, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. And any comments? Oh, Councillor Whip. Yep.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to refer to residence parking schemes and the revised criteria. First of all, can I express how delighted I am that the County Council policy on residence parking schemes has changed, and that the County Council as Highway Authority is now willing to take these schemes forward. It's almost 8 years ago, I think it was, that our group wanted to revive residence parking schemes after their demise, I think because of financial pressures. I can't remember exactly when it was, but the County Council abolished the budget to actually implement residence parking schemes, and it's been problematic ever since. So I very much welcome the fact that the Highway Authorities is much more open to implement such schemes. However, the revised criteria includes, and I paraphrase, includes a requirement for there to be a minimum number of residential properties affected, and it says that this is in order that the County Council can recover the administrative costs of implementing such schemes. And I appreciate that County Council Eden won't be in the position that it is currently in for very much longer, and it may not be possible to change the system in the remaining life of the County Council. But I do hope that the new County Council from May can seriously look at taking out this rather unfortunate requirement in order that residence parking schemes can be implemented to the benefit of residents in whatever numbers there may be, and that it's not just a financial transaction where the County Council are requiring a payback on that arrangement. Thank you.
County Councillor Dowding.
Thank you. I have a question relating to item 12 and the Cabinet meeting on the 4th of February relating to the South Lancaster Housing Infrastructure Programme, M6 Junction 33 reconfiguration. And I appreciate that this was in part one. My question is, please, how far has this so-called Gallgate bypass road been surveyed and cost engineered, and how robust is the latest cost estimate? And which body or bodies will be responsible for any cost overruns on these these HIF projects? And Finally, has there been any serious environmental impact assessment or flood risk assessment of this proposed link road? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Iden.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your comments, Councillor Whip. First of all, thank you for complimenting us on putting the schemes back, which were taken out, obviously, by the last administration in a budget, I think, which you voted for at the time, but I will be corrected if I'm wrong. As regards the schemes, there's only so much we can do. We've had to rebuild things at the County Council, and as we have done that under the directorship of Councillor Driver, who's put the house in order for us, we've been able to reintroduce the scheme. Things have to be paid for. We've had to employ extra staff to do this. And I think as it stands, the criteria work perfectly well. A lot of the councillors that I've talked to are happy with it, and they're delighted that we were doing it in this fashion. It is a very costly exercise to do, and I know that a lot of the county councillors have taken up the mantle and done some of the work for us. As regards my position and coming back, I will be returning to the county council. I won't be doing the job I'm doing. I'm hoping to be returning as leader of the Conservative ruling group. So thank you for that and my little promotion. Thank you very much, Councillor Webb. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. County Councillor Driver.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. In answer to Councillor Dowding's questions, which are very good questions, the answer is yes. The environmental studies have been carried out, and more will be carried out as the scheme progresses, including the possibility of flooding and mitigating against the risks of flooding. On the question of cost overruns, it'll depend where the cost overrun is as to who fund it. But of course, we're hoping that the budgets are sustainable and there won't be any overruns on costs at all. But if they are, as I say, it will depend where it is, and whoever is responsible for that particular aspect will have to fund the overrun. Only one point really to add to what Councillor Iden said about Councillor Whip. Councillor Iden is absolutely correct that Councillor Whip voted for the budget that took that money out of the budget. And more importantly, Madam Chairman, he also voted against our budget, which reintroduced it. Thank you very much.
Rubbish.
Thank you. I have no more questions on that report of the Cabinet, so we'll move to the Audit, Risk and Governance Committee. Councillor Schofield, would you like to move the report?
Yes, I would, Madam Chairman, but it would be remiss of me just to quickly point out members, a typo in relation to what's in Appendix A, the last page, overall page 154 at the top. The year should be 2020/21. I understand that is being corrected by the officers. So subject to that, I'm pleased to move this report.
We're wondering whether it should be 21/22 rather than 2021.
No, that wasn't clarified in my report today. When I saw this, it's 2020/21.
Well, in the paragraph at the top, it says the committee considered the audit progress report and sector update 2021/22, and then it was resolved that. So I think it should be 21/22.
Madam Chairman, I mean, I'm sure Councillor Vincent is right. Because
Chief Executive, just one moment, please.
So thank you. Just to confirm, this is the external audit progress report and sector update as of January 2021. So I think that would confirm Councillor Schofield's position that it's update 2020/21. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
2020/21.
Thank you very much for confirming that I'm right, Chief Executive. On all three occasions at the top of page 154, where the year appears, in all cases, it is being corrected to read 2020-21. Thank you very much.
Is confirmed. Oh yes, and then do you have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Hayhurst.
Chairman, as this is my last meeting of the council, I'd just like to say the one thing I won't miss is Councillor Schofield finding a comma missing on page 597 of any documentation that we receive. I will really, be glad not to have that. And also, can I just say also that I see that it's Councillor it's Councillor Driver's last meeting, and that is the reason why it's also my last meeting, because when I joined the council, a Conservative member said to me, Paul, you'd be right if ever you'd vote against Jeff at every opportunity. Now that Jeff is no longer there, I wouldn't know how to vote, so that's why I'm stepping down. But thank you very much. I've enjoyed being a county councillor, and I wish the county council luck and in the future.
Madam.
Thank you very much, but I think that was quite a pertinent amendment.
I can't really say I fully appreciate Councillor Ayer's good wishes, coming from someone who claims to be an independent but isn't really. And perhaps he's forgotten what I said earlier about conduct of members. And that's just the sort of trivial comment we'd expect from him. And yes, I'll miss those from him in future. Goodbye and good luck.
Thank you. We now move on to 13B, the Employment Committee. Councillor Driver, would you like to move the report?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move.
And seconder?
I'm happy to second the report, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. That's noted. We will now move on to the next item. 13C, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Councillor O'Toole, would you like to move the report?
I'd like to move that report, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
And do you have a seconder?
I'll second that, please, Madam Chairman.
Okay. No, yeah, was that Salter?
It was indeed, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to refer to the report of the External Scrutiny Committee, which is it's page 163, and the progress report on the strengthening flood risk management and preparedness. Chairman, you'll recall that our budget meeting a fortnight ago, there was a sum of £5 million included in the budget for, and I quote, additional investment in flood defences. I welcome that. It's an issue that has been very close to my heart for quite some considerable time, and that's one of the reasons why I served on the scrutiny group that was looking at flooding and seeing what we could do about it. I was rather dismayed on the publication of the papers for next week's cabinet meeting to find that of that £5 million, several millions of it is intended to be used to undertake repairs, and from reading the report it looks like road repairs, highway repairs, rather than repairs to flood alleviation assets. Of the funding, £1.5 million is intended to be invested in additional highway drainage, which clearly we've been arguing for that for some time, so we would support that. But the resolution of the full council was to put the money into flood defences. Now, I see that as being prepared to put money towards, I'll quote my own patch, work at Earby, where additional flood alleviation work is desperately needed. And there are plenty of other places in the county council where such investment is desperately needed. So why is it proposed that the vast bulk of that 5 million is spent on repairing roads? And at the cabinet meeting next week, will the cabinet seriously consider the appropriate use of that funding so as to reduce flood risk to people's properties? I fully accept that road repairs need to be carried out, but it does seem to be a misappropriation of that £5 million of funding to use it for that purpose. Thank you.
Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sorry about the delay there. Yeah, I just want to draw councillors' attention to again external scrutiny, but the welfare rights update around universal credit. We met at that meeting and discussed with the head of the service, Joanne Barker, a number of issues. And the pandemic and the response and the pressures, and we've got a notice of motion later around some of those figures. But it's really to bring attention to the great team we've got there. Subsequently, myself and Councillor Oliver have met with Joanne and members of the public health team, and they've been operating through the pandemic with a man down or a woman down because they had advertised to fill the role, but just couldn't find anybody with the skills required. It's that technically, the knowledge is so technical that it's difficult to find somebody adequately skilled. So we've got a really skilled team, and then facing all the pressures through the pandemic, they've reacted brilliantly. She's described the resilient team that she has, and also the help they've received from our very stretched public health team, which has been invaluable. So I just wanted to, as the portfolio holder, I just wanted to draw attention to that, the brilliant effort that all of them have put in, and what a brilliant welfare rights team we have, and one we should support going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Driver.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just echo what Councillor Turner said about the team there. They've done a really remarkable job, as have all the county council officers through this pandemic. But just responding to Councillor Whip, I welcome the fact that he says he welcomes the inclusion of the £5 million in the budget. Perhaps it would be a reasonable question to ask, well, why did you vote against it if you welcome the inclusion of the 5 million? And I'm not sure what that gesture means, Councillor Whip. I'll just ignore it. But I can give Councillor Whip the assurance, because he's absolutely right, that money was included in the budget for defending against flooding. And it will be, I can assure him, it will only be spent on defending against flooding. Thank you.
Right, so I think everybody's noted that now. So we'll move on to the next item. 13D, the Lancashire Health and Wellbeing Board. Councillor Turner, would you like to move the report?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll move that.
And do I have a seconder?
Yes, Madam Chairman, Councillor Townley will second that.
Thank you. No questions, right? So report of Lancashire Combined Fire Authority. Councillor De Moffetta, would you like to move the report?
Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Chairman. Yes, happy to move the report and take any questions.
Thank you. And do I have a seconder?
Councillor Nikki Hennessy, I'll second the report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Would appear to look as though we haven't got any questions. Right. So We now move on to notices of motion submitted under Standing Order B36. So 4 notices of motion have been submitted, and I'd like to remind full council that we have up to 30 minutes to deal with each notice of motion. So the first notice of motion is from County Councillor Tomlinson.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you. Are you ready for me to start?
Certainly am.
Thank you. I won't read out the notice of motion. It's there for members to read and was in the pack that we got. I also asked yesterday for an officer to circulate a link to the online petition to which the notice of motion refers, so members ought to have had a chance to see that too. Chair, it's perhaps a sign just how bad things have been in recent weeks that when I first began to write my remarks to this notice of motion, we were worried that we might possibly get to 100,000 deaths. This week we are going to achieve 120,000 with predictions that the figure could go as high as 150,000. I think that's just a staggering figure that really needs to be put into some context. It's the equivalent of 225 fully loaded 747 jets falling out of the sky. It's 40 9/11 events, and it's like one of the districts of Lancashire entire population just being wiped off the map. No more South Ribble, or no more Chorley, or no more Preston. When the numbers are so large, it would be too easy to lose sight of the fact that these are 120,000 individual people, fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, each one gone too soon, each one mourned by a family bereaved too early. One of those premature deaths was that of a Leyland man, Christopher Cooper, a South Ribble resident, a healthy 63-year-old father with no underlying conditions, who went into hospital on the 22nd of November last year and died just 2 weeks later. In the midst of a pandemic, confronted by tragedy, it would have been so easy for his family's reaction to have been to lash out, to be angry, or to indulge in self-pity. But instead, to her great credit, his daughter, Rachel Lidgett, has decided to try and do something positive and is now campaigning for a National Day of Remembrance to be established on March the 23rd, the anniversary of the first national lockdown. Clearly, the idea of a Memorial Day is beginning to gain some momentum with national politicians, and even the Prime Minister in recent comments has indicated it's something that he's at least open to considering. So here we are. It may well be that Rachel has been ahead of the Prime Minister in recognising the absolute need for us to remember, to commemorate and to pay tribute. A major part of Rachel's campaign is an online petition which now stands at over 8,000 signatures. With this notice of motion, I'm asking councillors to approve our council using its communications outlets to further publicise this campaign, whether it's via our very active social media channels or by more traditional contacts with local media outlets. As an organisation, we are well placed to ensure that Rachel's campaign and petition gets as much publicity as it can, and I believe we should. Finally, I'd like to commend Rachel on the positive way she has approached the tragedy she has faced and wish her well with her campaign. I hope all other councillors will join me in doing so. Thank you for your time, Chair.
Thank you. And do you have a seconder for the motion?
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. Yes, I do. It's Councillor Green.
Thank you very much. Okay. Right, County Councillor Green, would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I'd like to speak now, Madam Chairman, please.
Okay. Fine.
Thank you. Can I support Councillor Tomlinson in this notice of motion which has been submitted today? And may I first of all express my sincere sympathies and condolences to all residents and families who have lost those people who are dear to them due to this pandemic. And that's nationally, but of course, particularly within the Lancashire family. Madam Chairman, I would fully commend also all our staff at the County Council for everything that they have done to support the Lancashire community over the last 12 months or so. And that includes keeping valuable County Council services going, which were of such importance to the residents of Lancashire. Supporting the business community, as I commented earlier, but going much further beyond that in providing that direct support and assistance to residents and stepping well outside what is their normal day-to-day duties in many ways, including setting up NHS facilities, securing PPE equipment, and even establishing temporary mortuary facilities. Likewise, Madam Chairman, I will commend all key workers within the county, including our NHS, who have done such sterling work, our teachers and teaching staff, our businesses for what they have done in so many ways to keep the economy going, and also to provide essential supplies and to readjust what they do to function and provide what has been needed in the times of crisis. And finally, to commend our emergency services who have stepped forward in such fantastic ways to help the community. Mrs. Rachel Lidgett is a resident of my division, and I am sure that colleagues today will give their condolences to her
1 minute left.
On the sad loss of her father, who contracted COVID and, as Councillor Tomlinson said, then sadly passed away. Rachel has been tireless in her efforts to establish the 23rd of March as a day of national remembrance for all victims of the COVID-19 pandemic. 23rd of March is, of course, a very fitting day, and I would wholeheartedly support her in that request and ask that the County Council does facilitate publicity to support her ongoing campaign and petition to achieve this day of remembrance. So anyway, I thank Councillor Tomlinson and Councillor Collins for allowing me to second this motion today, which I felt was an appropriate way to move forward. But I understand, Madam Chairman, that Councillor Collins would like to submit some views as well as part of this debate. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Yes, I had Councillor Collins next to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to speak as well in support of this motion and in support of Rachel Lidgett's campaign for a National Day of Remembrance. I've also been contacted by a resident about the need for us to have a national marking of our loss. As a country, we've seen over 120,000 people die with COVID. In 2020, we had 85,000 more people die than we would expect in any one year. It's truly hard to comprehend those numbers. And as a nation, we have suffered a collective trauma, and there's been a particular trauma for those people who have been bereaved over the past year, whether that's from COVID or from another cause. Early on in the pandemic, many people died alone. They were unable to have their family or friends with them when they passed. And I think that leaves a mark for a lot of families. On Tuesday, I lost a friend, Jean, not to COVID. And fortunately, some members of her family could be there with her when she passed on unexpectedly. I hadn't seen her in person since February last year, and now I never will. And it's doubtful that I'll be able to see her off in the way I would normally like to. Because as humans, we need rituals we need ceremony and we need the comfort of others. And collectively and individually over the past year, we haven't had that.
1
And
minute left.
thank you. We need as a nation to mark our loss and to give our due respect to the dead. So I truly hope that the government will take on this campaign and will mark the 23rd of March as a National Day of Remembrance, because we all need it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Dowding, I did have your hand up earlier. I don't know if you've come in by telephone or do you still want to speak?
No, it's fine, thank you.
I think I shall assume that we are universal in support of this. Who? Councillor Tomlinson, it's your right to reply.
As it appears we're moving towards what you've predicted to be a unanimous vote, Chairman, I really don't think any extra words from me would add any value.
I think then that we can accept that this is voted for unanimously. Yeah. Unless I see any other hands up saying no. Okay. Right, well done. That was a very good one. Now, notice of motion 2 from County Councillor Gibson. Please could you put forward your notice of motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The motion is there on the screen before you. I wish to move it as put for now. And all I would continue to say is the figures speak for themselves. And the only bit I would update is the fact that the really most recent figures from December 2020 still show that we're seeing small increases. Many people who are facing unemployment for the very first time will move on to claiming universal credit. And for many, it is a daunting experience. For those under 25, the rate is currently £256.05 per month. And for those over 25, it is £323.22 per month. Can you imagine having come from a job where in a lot of cases you earned this as a weekly wage to find out that this is what you now have to survive on for a month? And that is why the £20 per week uplift is a lifeline for many and continues to be. Council, I am aware that what may come back in discussion, and I'm not immune to this, is that the £6.4 billion cost that this will be to the economy. But I would remind everybody that that money will not just sit idly in bank accounts. Once it's in people's pockets, it will be spent back in the local economy. From my own time spent working in welfare rights in Merseyside, I know that people who receive an increase in their benefit spend that increase within their local economy. A study I was involved in back in the day showed that for every pound bought in benefits, an additional £5 to £10 was generated in the local economy. People spend this increase locally, they use it locally to support local shops and local businesses. It is in its own way a kickstart to the local economy. Council, this £20 uplift is the difference between families not having to worry about whether they can heat their homes, have enough electricity to power the laptops needed for homeschooling, or to provide enough food for their children, or have to use a food bank. And notwithstanding the administrative issues that there are with universal credit, and I am aware of the DWP Select Committee discussions with government to iron these out, this £20 uplift has been a vital lifeline for many, and I ask government not to take it away. Chair, Council, in closing, I am very much aware of the support that the government has given to businesses and families throughout this pandemic. But I ask that it doesn't forget those who will continue to need this support whilst the economy recovers and whilst the labour market returns to a point where it can provide sustainable employment. Chair, Council, I was going to get my colleague, Councillor de Molfetta, to second this, but I am aware of a friendly amendment that has been put forward by Councillor Turner. I'm happy to accept that, and I know he wishes now to second it. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so you've accepted the friendly amendment and your seconder is Councillor Turner. Councillor de Molfetta, would you like to speak, however? as you
No,
were
Madam-
going to originally second the original one.
Madam Chairman, very briefly, is something whereby this should never happen. It should never end in April the 1st. And as I say, in the end of the budget, I'm sure the Chancellor, the Checker, will be moving a federal, amendment to this to assist the people, whereby they are most vulnerable in our society. And as I'm 100% behind what is being said. I don't want to say any more on this. Fully supportive, because the situation is for many people in the country, and to no fault of anybody, of course, is the pandemic was giving us so much problem in the last 12 months. So I'm nothing more to add except urging everybody on all party to support the friendly amendment which has been accepted by Julie, and let's move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Turner, you are seconding this. I'm sorry, I seem to be turning this meeting upside down on its head all over the place. But anyway, hey, it's technically the last one. So, Councillor Turner.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman, and thanks to Councillor Gibson for accepting the very minor amendments. And the rationale for those is if we're going to ask for this to be retained, then we explain that how helpful it's been, and also how helpful it's likely to be as we try and recover from the pandemic. So I won't go into any more details. I'd like to associate myself with the comments already made, and certainly happy to second this amendment.
I see Councillor Dowding.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And yes, of course, I will very, very happily support this motion and the amendment. It's really important. But I would just like to use this opportunity to highlight to councillors before we end our meeting for the last time, that really, if we're going to address inequalities and the needs of those people who have really come unstuck during this crisis, we need to be bolder, and we need to be looking at reforming the welfare system. And in Lancaster City Council, we passed a motion to be part of a trial of an introduction of the Universal Basic Income Scheme. And I would just urge councillors to really read up on that, because what the Universal Basic Income Scheme does is it encourages everybody. It would mean that everybody would have a level of income to survive on. And what that does is it reduces or it eliminates this idea that there are the deserving poor and the undeserving poor, because everybody's basic needs, they have a basic guaranteed right as a citizen to cover their basic needs. It removes all the wasted money that goes on at the moment in terms of the complications of applying to the welfare system. And of course, this situation where we end up with people in the main actually so much worse off because the benefits don't come through quickly enough. And that's actually a cause of untold hardship to families where they end up being evicted or actually completely destitute. So the Universal Basic Income Scheme is now being talked about by a range of economists, and it's being trialled in other countries. It's not the perfect solution, or there's no one perfect solution being suggested, but it's really important that at times of crisis, we actually recognise what's wrong with our system. And just like there were new things brought in after the 1920s and the 30s crash, and after the war, when we saw the introduction of the NHS, now at a time of crisis, we really need to be looking at how we organise for the future, because let's not forget that when we've just managed to get on top of this COVID pandemic, we are going to have to deal with this much larger crisis waiting in the wings of the climate crisis. And we now have 9 years to do that. So I just plea that people do read up about the Universal Basic Income Scheme as a bold and fundamental way of tackle the crisis that our families in Lancashire find themselves in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dowding. There doesn't seem to be anybody else who wants to speak. So again, Councillor Gibson, will you have the right of reply?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to address actually Councillor Dowding's point. I'm very much aware of the universal basic income. Back in the day in my welfare rights town, we were working with Joseph Rowntree Foundation and a host of organisations to actually look at this, look at pilots. There's a wider debate to be had around the whole benefit system and to make some really good points. For the purposes of today, though, we're concentrating on this one and we're hoping to keep the uplift for the £20, but I take on board their comments and thank them for it. Thank you.
That's it. Good stuff.
Thank you very much. Like the previous one, I'm assuming that we're all in favour of this notice of motion. Unless I see any hands up there to the contrary, I presume that it will be unanimous. Okay, thank you. So now we'll go on to notice of motion 3. Councillor Rea, please put forward your notice of motion.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I don't propose to read through the motion before you today, as I'm sure that you'll have done this already. However, I thought a little background information would be helpful. Since lockdown, many more of our residents have been using the roads and pavements near their homes for exercise, and I have noticed a rise in the number of speeding issues brought to my attention as a result. This is speeding not just on our main road system, but on residential streets too. I know this is replicated across many, if not all, divisions in the county. The County Council has recognised the problem and, amongst other initiatives, has purchased additional trailers carrying variable messaging signs for use across Lancashire to remind road users of their responsibility to keep to the speed limit. I urge all councillors to support my request for our Chief Executive to write, asking the Police and Crime Commissioner to tell us how he will work with the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary to reduce speeding on our roads as an important priority. Partnership working is key in raising awareness and making our highways safer for all road users. We need a better plan for speeding in Lancashire. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. And do you have a seconder?
Yes, Councillor Snowden.
Councillor Snowden, would you like to speak now or reserve the right to speak?
I'll speak now, Madam Chair. Thank you very much to Councillor Rea for her work on this notice of motion. This is, in fact, my last meeting of Lancashire County Council, as I chose not to seek reselection for my County Council seat. So I will be standing down from the council chamber, but perhaps not from having an office in County Hall. I will obviously miss all of my colleagues, in particular the smiles and loving looks from the opposition benches as they prepare for me when I stand up to deliver another calm and undramatic speech in the council chamber, and from the smiles and cheers from my own benches. So I will miss you all. But today I want to strike a cross-party tone. We want to be non-political with this. Speeding is a concern for many residents across Lancashire, and with at times roads being quieter and vehicles being able to travel at greater speeds, and more residents being at home rather than at work and able to witness the speeding and be at risk themselves, this issue has increased. The County Council has invested, as is outlined in the notice of motion, in resources that we can deploy to try and help tackle speeding across Lancashire. But the predominant responsibility for speeding sits with the Constabulary and the Police and Crime Commissioner. But we don't want to point fingers and have a blame game. What we want to do is to work together to use the extra resource that the County Council is putting in, and to ask the Police and Crime Commissioner to come up with a better plan for tackling speeding in Lancashire, and to work with the County Council and others through the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership on bringing forward new ideas and initiatives on how we can protect residents, communities, pedestrians, road users across Lancashire, and to keep our roads safe and to reduce the amount of speeding and dangerous driving that many residents have complained to county councillors of all parties, I know. And that is the purpose of this notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Beavers, I understand that you have an amendment.
Yes, Madam Chair. Hopefully somebody's going to put it up for us. Thank you. It's not on the screen, Madam Chair. There we go. So, can everybody read it? Shall I give everybody 5 minutes to read the amendment?
Yes, you can do that, please. Okay, I think we can flip to page 2 because apparently the only amendment is the second. Yep.
It's the highlighted one. Madam Chair, would you like me to read out the amendment, because I know that one of our councillors has got problems with the site, so then everybody is aware of what the friendly amendment is saying.
Yes, would she have been able to have read the original? No.
No, she wouldn't have done.
Okay, all right then.
So it's that we, the road safety, that, sorry, that isn't what I put in, but I didn't think it was anyway, that we agree the road safety is a concern and more could be done. But the answer has to be having sufficient resources to deal with this issue and many others. And with that in mind, we request that the Chief Exec and the Director of Resources writes to the Home Secretary and demands Lancashire first share of the increase in the funding for policing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have a seconder for your amendment?
I do, Madam Chair.
And that is?
Councillor Jean Parr.
Okay, right. Councillor Parr, do you want to speak now or do you want to reserve your right?
I'll speak now, thank you.
Okay.
I wish to second this amendment. The crux of this matter, as ever, is resources. Give the Commissioner the tools and he will do the job. A quick glance at police numbers will reassure anyone of the truly Herculean effort that Commissioner Grunshaw has put to the task of maximising officer strength. The low point was the 25% reduction in police numbers a few years ago, a matter of a loss of 800 officers for Lancashire, while he knew of funding increases for police authorities in the south. I say no more on that. He's managed to increase police numbers for the last 2 years and has another increase planned for the coming financial year. All this effort, despite producing over 450 additional officers, has still not managed to make up the shortfall created by lack of funding from central government. The residents of Lancashire deserve better than this. The pensioners of Lancashire deserve to feel safe. The women of Lancashire, suffering ever higher levels of domestic violence during lockdown, deserve better protection than this. We need more police. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder that we'll go into debate and this will be debating the amendment. So Councillor O'Toole.
I put my hand up for the amendment, so I want to speak on the main motion, not the amendment.
Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, speaking to the amendment, I don't think anyone can disagree that Lancashire ought to be getting its fair share of resources for policing. And it's quite clear that due to the financial mechanisms that are applied by the Home Office and the government, that the county has failed to receive its fair share of funding. So I don't think anybody would want to vote against the amendment as set out. But quite frankly, this motion has become a proxy war in the election of the Police and Crime Commissioner, and that's blatantly obvious to everybody. And frankly, it's rather silly. The County Council are the highway authority. Now, it's what, 12 years ago that the then incoming Conservative administration actually did away with traffic calming measures, road safety measures, did away with sleeping policemen, swept all that aside and introduced 20-mile-an-hour restrictions by sign only. Now, I personally agree with that. I don't agree with doing away with the traffic calming measures. I agree with the 20-mile-an-hour signs, but it was the decision to do away with those physical measures, those engineering measures, that meant that there was no longer effective control of speeding, particularly in residential areas, through those engineering works. And I think 1 minute left. This is being forgotten in both the original resolution and the amendment here. So really, let's talk a bit of sense. When the County Council resumes after the elections, I hope that there will be a sensible discussion around the use of physical measures to impair people's ability to speed, and that there will be effective enforcement both through the police and through the activities of the Road Safety Partnership, which the County Council is a full member of, together with the constabulary, with its regime of safety cameras, both fixed and mobile. And I would make a particular plea for the greater use of average speed cameras, where they are proving to be
up now.
very effective. Thank you.
We see in the sidebar, Councillor Rear, would you be acceptable to having the amendment as a friendly amendment?
We'd slightly like to change the amendment, the final sentence.
Okay. So,
Madam Chairman, can I just suggest, if we're on the way to a friendly amendment, can I just suggest that we take a couple of minutes, I don't know how logistically, that the proposers and seconders for the motion and the amendment have a quick chat to see if they can agree the correct wording. So if we were just to take a couple of minutes while they have that conversation, is that okay?
Yeah.
How do we do
yes.
that?
So if I say from 3 o'clock to 3:05?
I think that would be fine. And to the
to 3:05?
Yeah, but to councillors Rear, Snowden, and Beavers, you might have to talk here unless you've got a mechanism to phone each other up.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I'm happy that we can just have a quick chat here. Everybody else is happy.
Well, I think they're just going to have a quick chat here.
Right, it's well, just gone 5 past now. So I'm going to hand over to the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So in a minute, the friendly amendment should come up on your screen, and I will read out the changed paragraph so we're all clear. In terms of process, because it's an accepted friendly amendment, the motion will stay with Councillor Rea. I understand that Councillor Dowding has already indicated to us that she has an amendment. That amendment will be to the friendly motion that is about to appear on your screen. So if you just bear with us. It's like watching a kettle boil, Madam Chairman. It never happens.
Do you know what? I'll tell you what, just to move things on, put it in the chat. Because the issue is whoever's presenting has to take a while back off before they can get to their email, so it's just taking a couple of minutes just to amend it on screen. That should have appeared in the messaging at least.
If you've got the full, I haven't got the amendment in front of me.
It's appearing on screen now.
Okay.
I put it in the message box so people will see it, and it's now appearing on the screen.
Could we have the next page, please? Thank you, Madam Chairman. So, okay, we seem to have lost. No, that's correct. So you can see quite clearly the amendment, but to read out, so the new paragraph that we're adding and accepting to the motion is that we agree that road safety is a concern and more could be done, but the answer has to be having sufficient resources to deal with this issue and many others. And with that in mind, we request that the Chief Executive and Director of Resources write to the Home Secretary to request continued investment in Lancashire policing be made available. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Right, so that now is the substantive. So that's now changed to the substantive because it's been agreed as a friendly amendment. So Councillor Dowding, I believe that you have an amendment, but your amendment, of course, is going to be to this, which is now the substantive.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I thought for a moment there you were going to say my amendment, on the other hand, is going to be an unfriendly amendment, but I'm not sure that it is, but it might be seen as such. Are you going to put it on the screen or shall I read it out? Or both?
Probably both. Is
Okay.
it quite short?
It is quite short.
Okay.
I'll read it out and then I'll tell people why I think it's necessary. So the amendment is to insert after paragraph 2, Lancashire County Council recognises that a consistent speed limit of 20 miles per hour throughout urban areas and not just on residential streets could have many benefits in tackling speeding, as it encourages a driver culture of adopting slower and calmer speeds. It agrees, therefore, to respond positively to the call from Lancaster City Council to pilot an area-wide 20 mile per hour speed limit in Lancaster, which includes the A roads through the city, the centre of the city. So, in short, as has already been mentioned this afternoon, throughout Lancashire, and it's been very welcomed, we have 20 miles per hour on residential streets. But sadly, we have a lack of continuity for most drivers on even the smallest trips they make if they cross a main road. So they go from a 20-mile-per-hour area into a short area of 30 miles on a main road or an A road. And this happens particularly in Lancaster before they go back to 20 wherever they're going. And I think everyone has identified this afternoon a serious problem we have with speeding, but they've come to the wrong conclusion as to the way to tackle it. And it's very interesting that everyone wants the police to tackle the speeding problem, and apparently responsibility lies with the police. But I think indeed responsibility lies firstly with the drivers. And certainly, just to make a comparison, if we have any antisocial cyclists, we don't usually demand more police resources to deal with them. We call them out for their antisocial behaviour, cycling on pavements or whatever they do. And in the same vein, we should be calling out the antisocial behaviour of speeding drivers and not demanding our precious police resources, which, as Councillor Parr quite rightly highlighted, need to be going to those priority areas to helping violent crime and people in domestic violence situations. But it seems that everybody wants resources to tackle speeding drivers. Now, they are a problem, I agree, but one of the ways we do that is to change the driving culture and to stop this nonsense of having changes of speed limits in small areas. Now, I've already discovered that the Labour group won't support this motion because they don't think that there's financial implications that couldn't cover it. On the other hand, this is a relatively low-cost intervention to reduce average speeds in our city centres. Councillor Whip quite rightly made the point that we need more hardware and infrastructure to slow down traffic, and that certainly has been done outside schools, but the cost of that is enormous. But actually changing the driver culture and getting a contiguous 20-mile-per-hour speed limit throughout the city centres, throughout all residential roads that link together via our main roads, would have a much better effect of actually ensuring that when drivers come into an urban area, they know where they are. It's a slow drive area. So I think this is a cost-effective way to tackle the problem. It could indeed be adopted as a friendly amendment because it actually gets to the root problem of our speeding problem. Of course, police will never be enough police to tackle speeding unless we actually tackle the driver culture. And one way to do that is to give drivers a clear message. If you're in a built-up area, if you see people walking around, then you need to be in control of your speed, and that speed is 20 miles per hour. Thank you very much.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to go to County Councillor Rea. Councillor Rea, would you be happy to accept this as a friendly amendment or not?
I think I just need to give it some thought again. Can I just have a couple of minutes, please?
Whilst she's thinking about that, Councillor Dowding, at the moment, do you happen to have a seconder?
Chairman, I'm happy to second that. I feel as though we need to debate it, and therefore I'm happy to go ahead with this, and I can't see any reason why it could not be accepted as an amendment.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Sorry, somebody muted me. Madam Chair, while Councillor Rea has a moment, could I please make a point of clarification? Councillor Dowding just lied to this meeting. She asked during the course of this meeting whether the Labor group was in a position to second this amendment, and was told no because we hadn't had the opportunity to discuss this at Labor group. Councillor Dowding has a really, really bad habit of selectively misquoting people. And I actually, given that she just asked for a favour, that seems pretty damn rude. So the reason the Labor group is not in a position to second this motion is because Councillor Dowding didn't think to ask in time. It's not about the actual substance, it's about the processes, the democratic processes that the Labor group needs to follow. And I would ask Councillor Dowding to be more careful about how she portrays correspondence between the two of us. And I will note once again that she has just tried to mislead the council.
Thank you very
Personal
much.
explanation, please, Madam Chairman. I accept that Councillor Erica Lewis is incredibly frustrated and irritated, but she really does need to be less prickly. It's clear that Labour have financial concerns about this. I'm afraid that I don't act in the same way that Labour do with their cumbersome.
No, but what you do is lie on a regular basis.
Excuse me, it's Madam Chairman now. If you're going to have this, Councillor Dowding, I'm talking.
Yes,
So if you're going to have this argument, please could you have it outside the council chamber? I don't want to hear any more from either of you on this comment. Ria, have you had a moment?
Sorry, yes. I think that the purpose of this motion was a county-wide motion so that all areas could be included. So we are unhappy about a single borough being singled out in this particular case. And of course, if there are any projects going on in individual councils, they will be taken account of. So therefore, we don't want to single out particular boroughs, but we will take note of any information that's that comes from a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit test in any particular area. So I'd ask County Councillor Dowding if she would be happy to withdraw that motion and keep it just to a Lancashire-wide one for the sake of all councillors in Lancashire. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dowding, are you on that basis, are you willing to withdraw your notice of motion?
Thank you, Councillor Ria. The point of the amendment actually clearly says to pilot an area in Lancaster, and Lancaster's already asked and called for that to be the pilot. So I think actually this could easily affect the whole of Lancashire. It could be rolled out very simply and easily if other areas wanted it. But I think, so it's not excluding other areas, but as has been suggested somewhere else, we need to pilot these schemes. And that's what I'm calling for here, because Lancaster's already called to be a pilot and to explore the consequences of having a 20 mile per hour speed limit across the whole of the urban areas. So I'm sorry, I won't withdraw it because I think it could easily apply to the whole of Lancashire.
Right, well, on that basis, then you shall now debate this. This seems to be quite an elastic half hour for this notice of motion. Apparently we've got another 8 minutes left, but so we will now debate County Councillor Dowding's amendment, but in the meantime, Councillor Hayhurst, you seconded this. Do you want to speak now or reserve the right to speak?
Chairman, I'm happy for this to be debated on the basis that it is a pilot scheme and it does fit into the rest of the amendment. I am conscious, though, that the whole thing may fall if we don't get it sorted within the next 8 minutes. I personally feel that the two items should be put to the vote because I don't feel as though it needs an awful lot more debate.
Very much. Right, as I said, the debate is going to be on County Councillor Dowding's amendment. So I have actually up there Councillors Edwards, Gooch and O'Toole. Do you want to speak to this amendment?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yes, please, Madam
Okay, fine. So that was Councillor Edwards, you're the top of the list, then Councillor Gooch. Councillor O'Toole, do you still want to talk to it or not?
Not to the amendment.
Okay, fine.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. And
Before you start, just remember the time constraints.
it's all right. I'll only be a minute. I just think that this is you're shoehorning in something that has got absolute no relevance to the rest of the motion. At the end of the day, this came to the council in good faith. That was supposed to be about saving people's lives, making our community safer, making it easier for people to exercise. And as you rightly say, Councillor Dowding, in your speech, actually, let's put more onus on the drivers to take more individual responsibility for their actions. I think we can all agree with all of that. So why have we then just wasted what should have been 25, 30 minutes of cross-party collaboration on community safety, one of the things that should unite us? We have instead wasted it by trying to shoehorn our own political agendas into it. You've got Councillor Beavers, bless your heart, I love you so much. And you openly admitted it. You said we wanted to campaign. So it's not about people's lives. It's not about community safety. It's about, let's get a nice little line in that we can then put in a certain election leaflet, because apparently they're coming up sometime soon. So let's quickly talk about the facts. In 2015, there was a budget of 258 million for Lancashire Constabulary. In 2020, it's 308 million. That's 50 million pound more, ladies and gentlemen. And can we talk about the Lancaster idea? Well, if you actually spoke to the majority of people in Lancaster, they would absolutely reject this idea. I think that we have such a problem at the moment in Lancaster with the traffic and the one-way system, and the best way for you to communicate your perfect solutions to those problems was in the consultation that was done later last year. That was when you should have put your thoughts in about what we do about the future of Lancaster. I personally suggested putting another bridge over Lancaster. I think that would have more of an effect on traffic and safety. As I've said before, I put it in the consultation, and my views were heard. That's how it works. So maybe this is too little, too late. So Labour shoehorning their political priorities in, Greens shoehorning their political priorities in. Let's just focus on the main thing. This is about community safety. 20 miles per hour are a good thing. 20 is plenty. That's what this motion should be about.
Booch.
No, I mean, this amendment doesn't make any sense at all, because imposing a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit anywhere, any speed limit, is a matter for the county council.
Oh, exactly.
I think we can agree on that. So what on earth will we be doing, as this motion says, to write to the Police and Crime Commissioner to ask him to direct the county council to put in speed limits? This is a complete mishmash and should be taken out and forgotten. This is trying to shoehorn something else in, and it makes a nonsense of the notice of motion.
Councillor O'Toole, you said you didn't want to talk to this, so
No,
Councillor Beef.
I do think the vote should be taken. These conversations are totally unnecessary. But we should either take the vote and move on to the vote, please.
Shall I do that? Councillor Beavers, I'm just going to go to Councillor first.
Hi, thank you. I'd just like to answer Councillor Edwards' slant on me campaigning. Councillor Edwards, I do want to campaign. I want to campaign for fair funding for Lancashire. I want to campaign for the people of Lancashire and to have safer streets. And to say that I am actually electioneering at a full council meeting with hardly anybody watching but you guys is absolutely ridiculous. The Lancashire Police and Crime Commissioner has been campaigning for more funding for Lancashire for the last 10 years, ever since the Conservative government decided to penalise us for being poorer than rich Surrey. And the whole reason for my amendment was to support the Police and Crime Commissioner in his campaign to get a fairer funding formula for Lancashire, and that was the whole point of it. It has nothing else to do with it other than supporting the people of Lancashire and making the streets safer. Without the funding, we would not have safer streets for the people of Lancashire. The Police and Crime Commissioner is the best performing force in the country and is outstanding in its efficiencies and its resources, and he needs commending for that, and we should be supporting him and campaigning for it. And I take umbrage at you accusing me of doing anything else but standing up for the people of Lancashire, and what we should be fighting for is them and for safer streets. Thank you so much.
County Councillor Ali, would you be happy if we went to the vote? We've got a minute left.
Well, I wanted to say a few words, Madam Chair, because there's been a lot of misinformation that's been spouted during the course of this discussion, and most of it's come from Charlie Edwards. If he's always the guilty one, even though he's a hammer, and I can excuse him for being claret and blue, but unfortunately he's completely wrong. And Councillor Beavers is absolutely right. She has the right, and we have the right, to stand up for the people of Lancashire. We've lost hundreds of police officers in Lancashire. We've lost over 600 million for the County Council's budget. And despite that, Lancashire Constabulary have been awarded high accolades for efficiency and the way that they operate. And unfortunately, this Conservative administration has, for 6 years now, criticised Lancashire Police, criticised the move motions against the Chief Constable, and criticised the Police and Crime Commissioner. It's about time, including Councillor Snowden. I know he's moving to Rosendale and is deserting Chorley, but it's about time he started thinking about the people of Lancashire and standing up for them against his government, who've cut services, rather than trying to protect his bosses-to-be. It's time that we stood up for Lancashire and not standing up for our party political interests. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to the vote.
Thank you. County Councillor Rea has the right to reply, and then we'll go to the vote on the amendment.
Madam Chairman, could I just explain?
No, because you've already spoken. You can't.
Okay.
So, County Councillor Rea.
I think we should go straight to the vote. Thank you.
Okay, fine. So we're going to those who are for the amendment. Please, could you? No, we're not going to bother with that. So those who are for the amendment, please could you put your hands up, and I will take it that all those who don't vote for the amendment with their hands up will be.
Which amendment? Which amendment, Chair?
Number 1 or number 2?
There is only one amendment. It's County Councillor Dowding's amendment. That is the only amendment that's on the table. So all those who are for the amendment, put your hands up so that we can count them, and then I will take it that all the others who don't put their hands up are against the amendment, and then we will vote on the substantive motion. It looks as though there's only County Councillor Dowding voting for the amendment. Okay, so that is lost. So now we will go to the substantive, which is the amended notice of motion. Anybody against the amended notice of motion? The one that absorbed the friendly amendment, that one. So those who are against this notice of motion, again, put your hands up, and I will again assume that those who aren't against it are for it, and therefore it will be carried. So far as I can see, nobody has signalled that they are against it. So I would assume that the whole of the full council is therefore in favour of it. Thank you very much.
Well done, Madam Chairman.
We now go to notice of motion 4. County, I'm getting quite good, just as I'm ending my stint. County Councillor Foxcroft, would you put your notice of motion, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. The notice of motion is before you on the screen, and I want to talk to you about the journey that brought me to coming up with this notice of motion. As we all know, last year in March, we were all forced to shut ourselves away, and many of us had to shield. A very good friend of mine, who I will call F, was one of those people who was forced to shield. Along with her partner, who I'm going to call L, in order to preserve their anonymity, they took the time to consider what their future together was to look like. And they made the decision that they wanted to explore the potential to become foster carers and to open up their home to others who hadn't had the best start in life. As they went through the process at incredible speed, they were approached about 2 children, a young girl and a young boy, both under the age of 5. Both had had a very challenging start in life. Mum had not been able to give them the care and the support that they needed, but Mum still wanted to be part of their life, and it had been decided that the best route for them was to allow structured access to Mum over the course of a year going forwards. Therefore, they were placed, the permanent arrangement for them was to look for a special guardianship order. F and L were asked whether or not they would consider taking these children under the special guardianship order as opposed to going down the route of fostering. They were fortunate enough to be in a position that they could do this. However, it became quite clear that there was no real support available to them from either of their employers. Unlike if you foster or if you go for adoption, where you are paid for the time that you take off in order to allow you to build those relationships with the children you take on, special guardianships don't receive any support. This is probably because when they were first introduced, special guardianships were designed so that family members or people with close links to the children could be made the special guardians of the children going forwards. However, this is now becoming something that is used more frequently, as it is recognised that for some children, the right permanence arrangement for them is to allow them to still have some direct contact with mum or dad. This was what bore me to the point that I realised we had to make some changes. As a country, if 13% of children are being taken into special guardianship, if this is greater than adoption, which is currently 12% of permanent arrangements, we have to make changes. And I really want Lancashire to be at the forefront of this change. Therefore, we worked on this proposal in order to ensure that anybody who is an employee of the County Council will be afforded the same level of support should they choose to open up their home and provide the care and the love for children who have not had that in their first few years of life. But also that we pioneer on a national scale this change. It needs to happen. Special guardianship is the last remaining area that needs to be made equal to foster care and to adoption to ensure that all children, no matter what their permanent arrangement, are able to get the one that is right for them, and that parents, anybody who chooses to open up their home, does not have a barrier where they are forced to have to take time off work unpaid in order to ensure that they can give the love and the help and the support and the care to any child who wants to go through, who is deemed to be right to go for a special guardianship order. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder for your motion?
I do believe that County Councillor Brown is seconding.
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
County Councillor Brown, do you want to speak now or reserve the right?
Yes, I'm happy to second the motion and reserve my right to speak, but I am hoping for agreement across the council. Thank you.
It's now County Councillor Cheetham. Okay. Councillor Cheetham. I heard you then, I'm sure.
My machine has a life of its own occasionally, but it would like to be adopted permanently. It will accept guardianship as well, as long as it has care and attention. I would like to fully support this motion. I would like Lancashire to lead on it, and we lead by example. Unfortunately, for this authority, we have a lot of children who are in our care, who need our support, and sometimes their extended families need their support as well. And I can sort of say to you, as a former chairman of the youth magistrates and also being on a family committee at one time, that sometimes we did have difficulties with young children who sadly were being pulled in several directions, but always knew which way they wanted to go, and it wasn't always what perhaps the adults wanted. And a lot of things have changed in that time, I'm pleased to say, and Lancashire has been one of the pioneers to try and make it more attractive, that families weren't going to be broken up, that there would be access accordingly. But there was also that area of breathing space. But when you're asking people to take on a responsibility for young children, it also makes quite a lot of demands on your various life changes, as my husband and I found out ourselves, and the various challenges that take place when a little person or two little persons or three little persons come into your care, and all have, might be related, but all have certain difficulties. This guardianship, to me, is the right step forward for the breathing space, to assist. But why should they be penalised if a crisis crops up, which would be taken into account by employers, as it would be for any other normal parent at that time and within the employment law? So please, will you give this every support? We need more people who will take up that caring. They're not quite sure whether they should do it, but once they get into it, despite everything, it brings great joy into your life, and it gives a future to those children. They are our future now, and we've made a lot of sacrifices this last 18 months or so, and those children have actually had to grow up very quickly in some cases. So let us support this and give it every encouragement to go straight to London and get it confirmed nationwide. Thank you.
Thank you. County Councillor Mean, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I want to speak in support of this notice of motion. And I have to say, Councillor Foxtrot gave a very moving account. But, you know, fostering, adoption, special guardianship, they're all completely different and come with different responsibilities, and do not necessarily have to attract the same levels of support, either financial or otherwise. But I have to say that in many cases, obviously special guardianship is absolutely the best outcome for the child, and also for the extended family. Not to mention, I mean, Councillor Cheetham's mentioned how many children Lancashire County Council has in its care, and it's up to us to find permanence for each and every one of those children if we possibly can. Obviously, it sometimes takes the courts quite some time to come to their decision, and you know, by the time that happens, it can be a very, very exciting time for the young person or young children. And I think it's only right that the special guardians should have access to a period of paid special leave to help the children and the family bond and settle. I'm not actually convinced that having a period of leave is going to actually encourage more guardians to come forward, but I do believe it's the right thing to do to help a new family like this, so I'm absolutely in full support.
Very much. And County Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I fully support the motion and thank David for the work that he's done on putting this together. I think we all take our responsibilities as corporate parents very, very seriously indeed. And for those children who come into our care, the work that we've done over the last 4 years has made a significant impact on improving their outcomes and the support that those very vulnerable children and young people get. And we know that where it's not possible for children to remain with their birth parents, a home with relatives or a family is the best situation for them. And just to put some of the numbers into context, we've currently got 2,051 children in care in Lancashire. 71% of them are placed with foster parents, 24% with relatives or connected carers, and just 5% in residential care. But around 50% of those in foster care or with relatives or connected carers have a special guardianship order in place. And it's essential that all those generous-hearted people who put themselves forward to care for a child have the resources and the support that they need. We've already put major changes in place to support our foster carers, and we want to make sure that all those who take on the responsibility of caring for a child under a special guardianship order have that same level of support. And although some of those carers are paid the same rate as local authority foster carers, we should be looking at the full support arrangements that are in place for those special guardianship holders. Lancashire County Council strives to be a family-friendly employer. So I think it's right that we should explore as an employer how we can offer practical support to parents either embarking on this road to being a special guardian or who are already looking after children under these arrangements. And as part of this, we should be learning from the experiences of those who've been through the system, and our corporate parenting board should be a useful sounding board and take a role in helping us progress this. So I would really encourage everyone to support the motion. It will enable us to better support those carers already holding guardianship orders, but crucially, it will encourage those who could offer a much needed home to a child or a young person through this route to maybe come forward and give it a go. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no more speakers. Councillor Foxcroft. Oh, sorry. Yes, Councillor Brown, you reserved the right to speak. I've got you written down. Way down at the bottom.
That's
Yes,
exactly
Councillor
where I should
Brown.
be. That's exactly where I should be, Madam Chairman, down at the bottom. Thank you very much. It seems that we have universal support, so I'm happy to move to the vote.
And I come back to you, Councillor Foxcroft, because you have the right of reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and thank you everybody for what seems to be universal support for this. As several other councillors have alluded to, this will also be my last full council. This will be the last time that I will be a corporate parent, but I am embarking on an exciting journey of my own as myself and my partner Michael begin the journey towards adoption. We've used lockdown and we have been really well supported by the agency that we have chosen. It has opened my eyes to the amazing hardship that so many young people across the country have to go through in early years, at a time when nobody should be forced to have to endure some of the things that our looked after children do have to go through. I'm so pleased that we have managed to come together on this motion, and I hope, County Councillor Parr, we have proven that the members who sit on the opposite side aren't all pale, we aren't all stale, though quite a few of us are probably male. Thank you very much to you all for the support you have given in going with this motion and for the friends that I have built up together over the last 4 years. I will miss you all and hopefully it's just goodbye for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foxcroft. Again, as we've done this afternoon, if those who are against would like to put their hands up, if I don't see any hands, then I will take this as unanimously passed. no hands up. So congratulations and thank you very much for doing this. I just would like to say that I'm on the LGA's Children and Young People Board, and they did ask for an LGA representative to go on to the ASGLB, which is the Adoption and Special Guardianship, and I've forgotten what the L stands for, board. So, so I'm on that, but I represent the LGA on that board. But it will be lovely for me to take this to the chairman of the ASGLB and say, look what Lancashire's done. So thank you very much. This technically is my last meeting as chairman and also as a county councillor, because I am also standing down in May. So yes, I'll I suppose make a quick appearance for the end of May. Handy is over. And but yes, no, it's been lovely serving with all of you. We may have had our differences along the way, but yeah, I think we've all got along reasonably well together. So thank you very much, and the meeting is closed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Madam Chairman.
We'll miss
Well
you.
done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well,
Yeah.